right off the bat, let me ask you all a question. Have you ever been doing something in your life, whether that's maybe starting a new job, or going to a new school, talking to someone you've never talked to before, but you've always had an interest in talking with them, and you've been scared? And that fear held you back, kept you from doing what you want to do, and maybe even being yourself a bit. But with a little push forward and a little bit of courage, were you able to achieve that goal, whatever it might be? Because if that's the case, you are just like our boy Ichikawa today in these 2 episodes of The Dangers in My Heart. That's the word I want to highlight today for all of you, is the word courage and what it really means. So, that's enough yapping from me over here. Let's just get straight into it and talk about The Dangers in My Heart, Season 2, Episode 5 and 6 today. And we're going to dive in to what courage really means. Now our episode today begins quite adorably, as they all do for this series, with Ichikawa and Yamada walking home together. Something that's quite subtly become an everyday thing between them. And it's here while they're walking, Yamada quickly realizes, after probably pulling out every single thing inside of her backpack, I can relate, she finds this ticket for a movie. A romance movie, I might add. She subtly tells Ichikawa, yeah, I got this from one of the actresses. She's in it. The last day to go see it's today. Hint, hint. And it's here as they get to the station, and Yamada gets this man inside of her cardigan. She loves seeing this man in her clothes for some reason. Pretty adorable. She digs out another ticket and says, whoa, how'd this get here? She says, here, Ichikawa, you can have this. Hint, hint. And it's here she actually tries to leave, thinking Ichikawa did not get the hint. But this man did. He got it loud and clear. And with his new affirmation to himself to try to do more of what he wants to do, he stops her and says, you know what? Let's go see this movie together. Our boy Ichikawa is starting to follow his heart. But this decision might have immediately bit this man in the ass. Because naturally, before you go to the movies, guys, what do? Most people, myself included, we go eat first. So that's what they do. Who do they run into immediately? This man's sister, working there. And she is shook seeing them. And they are shook seeing her. She knows what this is too. She immediately calls it out. He's like, no, it's not a date. But she immediately sees through that nonsense. And I love how they go and sit down, how it's immediately awkward as hell. As his sister tells her, you know, Ichikawa, no matter what happens in my life, I'm an adult now. I'll never experience what it's like to go on a date after school in my uniform. You better savor this shit. I like how Yamada tries to cheer her up too, and Ichikawa's just like, no, just don't. Just don't rub it in. As he becomes painfully aware, oh yeah, this is 100% a date. You can't escape it. And it's here as they're sitting and eating, Ichikawa can't help but constantly keep looking at his sister, as Yamada even mentions that, and he says, well, I mean, I've just never seen someone I know working right now. It gives off a different feeling, a vibe. And this leads into Yamada asking him, or telling him, I should say, you know, I got a photo shoot next Sunday for a magazine. Why don't you come watch me working? Now, as I've mentioned earlier in our season, Ichikawa has extremely mixed feelings about Yamada's work, as he even tries to weasel his way out of it, saying, you know, I'll go if I can. She calls him on it and says, yeah, that means you're not gonna go then. And when she asks him again, he has to relent and says, fine, I don't mind going, I guess. But you can tell he still feels very mixed on the subject. We'll get back to that soon. And it's here as we get to the theater, grab our seats, hopefully skip the previews because who cares about those to the movies. I think it's really adorable how she switches seats to his other side just so she can see the side of his face that isn't covered by the hair. I do think that's quite adorable, honestly. But while we're here, Ichikawa decides to tell her that, I've read the book of the movie that you're gonna be in. Because remember, guys, in season 1, we saw that Yamada's actually going to be in a movie, as she even tells him, yeah, over spring break we're going to Hiroshima so I can film it. As she tells him that this movie today is supposed to help me study acting. That's why we're here. I mean, we all know the real reason they're here, but hey, let's play along. But it's here as our movie starts. Ichikawa is immediately reminded of another movie that he just so happened to watch because Yamada actually had a little role in it. Very tiny role. And immediately, as he's watching this movie, he thinks to himself, Yamada's role was insignificant in this. But you could clearly tell the difference between her and the amateurs here. She's good. She's a real actress. And it's here as he snaps back out of it. Right during a kissing scene in this movie, by the way. Wild time for that. He notices that Yamada is enthralled by this scene. And once again, he has to realize to himself that, me and Yamada might be similar in a lot of ways. But we see the world very differently. And that thought scares him a lot. But even with all that, at the end of the movie, as they're leaving, he still musters the courage to tell her that, I want to know more about you, even if it does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I want to know the real you. And it's here we transition to the day of our shoot. And let's just say our boy Ichikawa is stressing right now. But he still gets Yamada a little gift. Very thoughtful. And it's here as we get to the shoot. Ichikawa immediately sees a side of Yamada that, frankly, scares him. As he even says, everyone here is so grown up, so different than me. And Yamada's a part of that. And because of that, he actually runs off the set. And after running away, he starts thinking to himself that, all of this just feels like child's play. All of a sudden. And I like what his inner voice tells him here. He tells him directly that you're the one who said that you wanted to get to know her better. You don't need to run away. Are your feelings, my feelings, just play? And it's here we see that Yamada showed up. She saw him run off and she immediately ran after him. She knows how he's feeling right now. And it's here Yamada tells Ichikawa that, remember what I said before? About how I was never good at anything I practiced? And how I always quit everything I did? Well, this job was that way too. There are lots of girls that are cuter, funner, better actresses than me. This is an exhausting job. I mess up all the time. I don't even know why I kept at it, honestly. But you're the one that made me see why. And as she remembers what Ichikawa asked her in our previous episode, she tells him that, that really made me happy. And it was all thanks to you. And it's here. This is a crossroad moment for Ichikawa right here. This is a do or die moment. As he starts thinking to himself that, Yamada's happy, so I should be. But this hurts so much. Maybe if she didn't go back, if she skipped work or got fired, she went back to just being an ordinary girl, would I be happy then? Quite a selfish line of thinking, to be honest. That's why I love it so much that he immediately grabs her and starts running back, thinking to himself that, if she did that, if that's all this girl in front of me was, I wouldn't have fallen for her like I did. It's a great, great scene of growth for Ichikawa here, because he has the courage to accept Yamada for who she is, including the parts that make him feel insecure. The parts where she shines and makes him feel a little lesser. She doesn't do it intentionally, obviously, but he feels that way. And he has the courage to accept her regardless. I think it is extremely adorable how they run back there, hand in hand. Her manager gives him a look, and this man pulls his hand away, and she immediately grabs it again. Like, nope, not this time. You're not weaseling out of this time. As her manager tells them, well, you don't look like an ordinary friend at all, now do ya? Let's just say, guys, that Yamada's manager gives off a certain kind of vibe. Kind of reminds me of a certain doctor turned actor that we saw in another show from last year. Maybe his eyes are similar. Who knows? And it's here once he calms down and they start going into the shoot. Everything's going pretty smoothly. Nothing's going bad. We even get our first appearance of Nico Koda, a character that will make more appearances throughout our show. So remember her. And as the shoot continues, Yamada's just doing her thing. I kind of like the fact that her manager can just read Ichikawa like a book. As he tells him, you can't wait to go home, can you, kid? As he noticed immediately that you've got a massive inferiority complex, don't you? As he tells Ichikawa that, I've been working with Yamada for years. No one is as honest as that girl is. That girl tells me everything. And she even told me about you. You're her pride and joy, I'd say. But it's here. He starts pushing the knife in just a little bit to Ichikawa as he tells him, but Yamada's reaching an important time in her career right now. Your relationship is going to hinder her work, don't you? Now, obviously, Ichikawa denies that there's anything going on with them, which is just silly at this point, frankly. And our producer's like, oh, I guess I was wrong somehow. But, and the episode itself doesn't seem to take this conversation that seriously. But I'm telling you all, remember this conversation for later in our series. It's far more significant than you might think at a glance. But he does end up admitting to the director, I really respect Anna here. Ever since that one moment that we got in season 1. And it's here as we transition to after the shoot, Yamada asks him what he thought of it, obviously. As he tells her, it was quiet, but it was pretty intense, honestly. As he ends up actually showing her that he took a picture of her without her noticing. As she says, well, why didn't you take it when I know so I give you my good side? But he just casually lets slip, why? I think you look so pretty in this. And she lights up, bro. I'm telling y'all, our boy Ichikawa's got some secret riz. He don't even realize, man. He rizzes her all the time and doesn't even realize it. That's being suave, guys. Pay attention. And with that, episode 5 ends. And it's here as we move straight into episode 6. This is the episode that inspired our theme for the video today. Because immediately, first line of dialogue, we just hear, Ichikawa, can you be the student rep and read a farewell address to the graduating class? I love how this man's just like, immediately, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. Ichikawa's like, shouldn't we give that to someone who's smarter? As Moeko comes in and says, what are you talking about? You got the second highest grade on our finals, didn't you? Literally outing this man immediately. Not even Yamada knew about that, by the way. As the teacher's like, I won't force you, but we got a rehearsal tomorrow and no one's trying to do it. We're in a bit of a pinch here. I like how Yamada just gives him a look like, come on. And of course, the little pushover says, fine, I'll do it until you find someone else. Yamada definitely brings out the best in him, whether he'll admit it or not. And it's here as we transition to our rehearsal here. our boy freezes up in front of everyone and he bombs, especially in front of Nanjo here. Our boy was far too nervous here. He kept whispering the entire time. So after the fact, Yamada actually pulls him aside and says, alright, we gotta go practice. We need to go practice right now. And it's here they go and practice, and obviously he does better when he's just talking to her, obviously. But it's here after the fact, she suddenly asks him, why didn't you tell me you were second in our grade? If I'd have done something like that, I'd have been bragging to everyone. And he tells her that, it's not that big a deal, in my opinion. And I like what she tells him here, because it's really in Yamada's character, if you think about it, where she says, okay, you got to see me at my work, and you got to see me giving it my best, right? Well, I want to see you try your very best. And let me tell you, ladies, as a guy, that's a low blow. Don't say that. How can I say no now? How could you say no at that point? That's wild. That's a low blow there. But for our boy Ichikawa, it's something else that gets him going. Because it's here they overhear a conversation. Specifically, they hear Nanjo getting asked out here as he turns this girl down and says, no, there's someone else I really like. And Ichikawa and Yamada know exactly who he's talking about here. And the worst part is, Ichikawa knows he means it too. But that's the fire he needs, as he tells Yamada, I'm gonna do the address. As he tells himself, I'm gonna do it so she can see the best side of me, but also so that he can see it as well. And it's here Ichikawa's little training arc begins, as we actually get a flashback sequence to how Ichikawa was when he was younger, how he was far more outspoken, far more energetic, how he was himself, and how much he has regressed as a person since then. We'll come back to that in a little bit, because it's here we continue our training. Our boy gets a new haircut. He's practicing his speech in front of his family. He is trying. He's putting in the effort right now. And it's here, with all the practice done and out the way, we transition to the day of our address. And I like how immediately everyone notices that, oh, you cut your hair. That's crazy. We can kind of see your face a little bit now. And the girls actually help him style it. I do like the fact that he even admits to himself, 6 months ago, something like this would have never happened. Just showcasing how much he's already grown. The hairstyle that Serena gives him is wild, by the way. This man looks like he's ready to stick up the school instead of giving it a dress. And while all this is happening, I want to make quick note of this real fast, that they're actually going up to third years moving forward from this point, and how the classes are going to be switched up and how they might be separated. Just wanted to make a quick little note of that for you guys right now so you're not confused going forward. But with all of that said and done, and with Ichikawa's hair literally how it normally is, by the way, which is kind of funny how it just turned to be that way again, it's time for our speech. But we got a bit of a problem, guys, because as our boy reaches and tries to pull it out, he realizes, this ain't my speech. I left that shit at home. Uh-oh. So now it's time for Big Sis to be the hero and deliver him the speech before it's too late. And it's here Ichikawa starts thinking, maybe I can get out of this. Maybe I'll just give him an excuse, like I don't have it. Someone else can do it. But after remembering the promise he made to himself, to Yamada too, he can't get out of it, man. We're in too deep for that now. And Yamada, realizing that he's panicking right here, tries to comfort him a bit, as he instantly starts thinking, don't tell me I can do this. I don't need that right now. That's going to put more stress on me. But instead of that, she tells him, it'll be all right. And actually ends up giving him the keychain that he gave her as a little bit of a good luck charm for him. And that might have been just what he needed right now to get this done. And I kind of feel Ichikawa on this one, guys, because when you're nervous about something, when you're like racking your brains trying to figure out how you're going to do something, having people tell you, you can do this, go out there, kill it, whatnot, stuff like that, is only going to put more pressure on you and only going to make you more nervous. So her just taking a more relaxed approach and says, hey, it'll be okay, is going to relax him a bit more and put him more at ease. And all I'll say is, remember that line for later in our season. That's all I'll say. Remember. And it's here. It's time for our speech. As we see our boy Ichikawa tries to get out of it still, but he gets pushed onto the stage. There's no running here. And I'll tell you guys now, this scene is incredible for a multitude of different reasons. Because as he's going up there, he's thinking to himself, people are cheering me on right now. But this isn't me. I'm not a people person. I can't do something like this. That old me is gone. And it's here his inner voice tells him, stop lying to yourself. As he just starts being blunt and honest with Ichikawa, saying, do you think Yamada and your teachers would cheer you on if you weren't up for this? Don't you think that old you was the real you all along? Who do you think found that keychain you're holding right now? You did. Remember who trusts in you the most. It's not your teachers. It's not your sister. It's not Yamada. It's me, aka yourself. As he tells him, you've known all along. As he truly starts understanding what it is that everyone has been saying to him, that they believe in him as well. They know he can do this. As he tells him, the one that likes you most of all isn't Yamada. It's me, yourself. Believe in yourself like they believe in you. And it's here as his speech begins. He absolutely kills it. He can be clearly heard by everyone. He's direct with everyone. He's being himself. And what makes this scene amazing to me is very simple. It's the fact that he's not talking to anyone here. No one here. He's not talking to his friends. He's not talking to Nanjo. He's not talking to Yamada. He's talking to himself. Listen to the speech. Listen to the speech. As he even says, life's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. There's going to be lots of bumps in the road. But you are the ones that have to take the step forward yourself. Accepting that simple fact is scary. But you can't run away from it. Because you've already seen the light. And in Ichikawa's world, Yamada is the brightest light. As he adds, it'll be alright. So don't give up on trying new things. Learn to love yourself. He absolutely killed this speech here, guys. And he did it for himself. Even his sister, who overheard everything outside, can't argue with the fact that he's really grown as a person. I do think it's very funny how he just straight up passes out after the fact, though. Hey, he did good, man. Give him some slack. And it's here as our boy wakes up in the infirmary after the fact. Of course, Yamada's the first one to greet him. But she's not the only one. As we see, Nanjo is here as well. As this man says, Yamada, you got a minute for us to talk? I really like the fact that Ichikawa tosses the keychain back to her here, just to give her a little bit of courage too. And because he knows this is Nanjo's last time. So as a man, he's given him the space to do what he knows he's gonna do here. I can respect that to an extent. I get that. I do think it's a little fucked that he decides to talk to her right there in the room, knowing he's there, but whatever, I guess. As Ichikawa's thinking, if he tries anything weird, I'm gonna get his ass. I'm not like how I was back then at the beginning of our series. And it's here as these two are just making small talk. Yamada brings up the fact that, it's your new school. You gonna continue soccer? She tells him, I'd always saw you watching them practice. Even after you left the club, you clearly liked them and being in soccer. Yamada's quite an observant person, believe it or not. But unfortunately, that fact only makes this harder to do. And as we transition to the girl that's always with Nanjo, I like how Moeko confronts her and says, hey, you're not gonna jump into this, are you? And she tells her, no, this is already an empty ritual. They already know what's gonna happen. As we see Nanjo tell Yamada, I like you. And even knowing it was gonna happen clearly didn't make it hurt any less for Ichikawa here, having to hear that. And it's here as he tries to give her his button, it's time for Yamada to have a little bit of courage herself. She tells him, I know how you feel. How it makes you happy to see someone working so hard. Because he complimented her hard working earlier. How you respect them and are afraid that they might start hating you. So you get all worried and concerned over little things. But there's someone else I like. I'm sorry, but my hands are already full, and I can't hold anything else. And it's in this moment. There's no more denying it. There's no more being in denial. There's no more running from the truth. Ichikawa has to accept the fact that Yamada does like him. They absolutely killed this scene, guys. I am not doing it justice in this video. I promise you that. And I will respect that Nanjo decides to get out of there after that. He knew how this would turn out from the very beginning, but I will give him props for still going and trying. And I gotta respect that. I can't deny that takes courage also. But as he leaves, this man still tries one more time, saying, hey, I'll message you over spring break. Our little student rep friend over there gave me your number earlier when I asked him. But Yamada tells him, no, he didn't. I know he wouldn't do that. Don't lie to me. As he says, you're not falling for it, huh? As he gives Ichikawa one more look. And as he leaves, the one girl asks him, why would you lie like that to make her dislike you now? Why would you do that? Why didn't you tell her you quit soccer because you got hurt? As he tells her, well, then she'd only love me out of sympathy. Which I think is some total cap. He knew what was going to happen beforehand. That line's more for him. Let's keep it a buck here, bro. He knew what was going to happen. Okay, out of sympathy, my ass. But I thought I'd include it, because it's still a nice little scene. I think it's hilarious how Ichikawa tries to leave immediately after that, and even Nanjo's like, bro, you are finally alone. What are you doing right now? I gave you the freaking layup. And then we see Yamada tries to leave, and they lock eyes with each other. Bro, she is going through it. She probably didn't think that through when she said it, huh? It is actually extremely adorable. But the cat's out of the bag now. No one can deny it any longer. And with that, our episode ends. Very adorable episodes with some very great moments in them. These two episodes in particular really showcase Ichikawa's growth as a character. As I've told you guys in videos prior to this, Ichikawa is my favorite character in the show. And the scene that really made that the case for me was actually this scene. I remember reading this in the manga and thinking, wow, this is a really powerful scene, actually. I think it's a little better in the manga, personally, because they kind of sped it up for the anime, because they wanted to include this final scene, but still, this adaptation is really freaking good, guys. They are absolutely killing it. You feel the love in it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode down below. I really would, especially for these two, because they were just phenomenal. So until next time, guys, I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. Your question of the day down in the comments. Let me know a time in your life when you've been overwhelmed by fear of something, but you took that leap of faith. You took that step forward and showed some courage. I would love to hear about that down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Deuces.